Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, I'm going to be ranking the top players I'm looking out for at Texans rookie minicamp. Day one was today. We saw all the Texans rookies at NRG, but I'll let you know throughout rookie minicamp who I have an extra eye out for and who I'm going to be taking a little bit closer attention to over the next couple days. But have some Texans news. This actually coming from Texans Cap, and I didn't even realize this until I looked at his tweet. Shout out to him. If you're not following him on Twitter yet, really good resource for everybody out there if you're a Texans fan. The Texans roster now at 90 players on the active roster. Another move will need to be made when the Foley Fatukasi signing becomes official. So not officially official yet. The Texans are going to sign Foley Fatukasi, defensive tackle, and once they make that move, they're going to have to release another player. It's probably going to be one of the UDFAs that they've signed, or somebody from the team last year who they don't envision on the team going forward. But just a move to keep your eye out for. If you see the Texans waive or they release anybody, this is the reason why they have to make room for Foley Fatukasi. You're only allowed 90 players. The only exception is if you have somebody in the IPP, the International Pathway Program, that allows you to have 91 players. But the Texans, they don't have anybody that fits that criteria, so they are only allowed to have 90 players heading into training camp, OTAs, and during the offseason. Some other news that we got. Some rookie numbers. Now, in little bitty writing on the bottom, it's like these numbers are not official. So I want to know, how are we feeling about the rookie numbers? Mertz, the quarterback, he's getting 18. Woody Marks, 27. Jaylin Smith is 30. Jaylen Reed is 34. Lachey is 42. Ersery, 79. Maybe my favorite number, and maybe I'm a boomer for this. Let me know down in the comment section how you feel. I love Jaden Higgins, 81. Big dude wearing 81, like Terrell Owens. Some really good receivers before him wearing that 81. I love it. You're a big dude. Bring 80s back to the wide receiver room. 82 for Jaylin Noel. Don't love that one as much. Maybe he can change it around. And then Hamilton at 94, which actually we'll get to later on because there are some conflicting reports on that, even though the Texans put this out, which wouldn't be the first mistake that the Texans made today for putting out stuff for their Texans rookies and such. Some undrafted free agents right here. Huzzie's wearing 36. Brinkman, 40. Ossai, 47. Tafuna, 53. Cox, 65, which 4 away. 69 Cox would have been electric. And then Daniel Jackson, the wide receiver from Minnesota, wearing 85. So now I'm just going to go all the way down from the top to the bottom of not least excited, but who I'm paying the least attention to who I'm paying the most attention to. Kroeger, bringing in a punter, just, bringing in somebody to help out here and there, another camp body. One letter away from the grocery store brand Kroeger, so that's kind of cool. Mason Tharp, he's listed as a tight end, but this is an interesting guy. Now, I don't think he's going to, make any waves or make the Texans practice squad or even, make the, Texans roster at any point. But I want to show you this photo here, and shout out to Landry Locker on Twitter. He's the one who posted this photo. This is Mason Tharp right here. Across from him, that is Luke Lachey, 6'6", Luke Lachey. This dude's 6'9". All I'm saying is we got to change this dude to an offensive tackle because I think that would be his best route forward, a massive dude like that. Maybe put on some weight, make it like a Jason Peters guy who can move really well, and you move him over to offensive tackle. I think that would be his best, move for him moving forward as an NFL player, but maybe if he wants to stay a tight end, but a massive human being at almost 6'10", Mason Tharp from Texas Tech. Next up, Daniel Jackson, wide receiver from Minnesota, one of the Texans' UDFAs, and he's actually pretty good. I went back and watched some of his tape. Really good production this past season for the Golden Gophers. 863 yards, 4 touchdowns this past year. The only problem is it's going to be hard to make this Texans wide receiver room after they went ahead and made the moves of Christian Kirk and then double dipping at wide receiver in the draft. For anybody, even an undrafted free agent like Jackson, it's going to be tough to make this roster. Daniel Jackson is number 3. And then next up, we have KC Ossai, linebacker. Actually, his brother, who went to Texas, also in the NFL, I believe plays for the Bengals. But another guy, UDFA. It's going to be tough to make this roster as a UDFA. I've actually broken down on the channel who I think is the most likely to make this roster out of all the UDFAs. I don't think it's Ossai. I think the linebacker room is one of those rooms where it's going to be tough to make it as well, especially as an undrafted free agent like Ossai. Another guy who was an undrafted free agent, but not with the Texans, with the Seattle Seahawks, and then was released, picked up on waivers by the Houston Texans, Jackson Woodard. And I don't have official that he was there today, but John Alexander did tweet out that the Texans had 7 undrafted free agents there. They only have 6 and then Woodard. So that would mean that I'm guessing he was there. But either way, I will be looking out for him just because he had tremendous production at UNLV, was at Arkansas before he transferred there and was a stud for the Rebels in Las Vegas. Somebody who maybe makes the practice squad and eventually pops onto the roster. I like him a little bit more than Ossai moving forward. Next up, Alijah Huzzie, the cornerback who, I was really excited to see some of the videos and clips from Huzzie coming out of rookie minicamp. And the one I'm about to show you, shout out to Aaron Wilson for popping that up on Twitter. But I was surprised to see him moving around and just his depth of motion and movement on the field, after he got injured in rookie minicamp. Once again, this video coming from Aaron Wilson. This is the actual video that he put out. So as you see there, in pretty good spirits, was out there, at least on the sidelines, able to, move around a little bit, which is pretty good news for the Texans because, as I said, he's a sleeper to watch, not whenever the 53-man roster comes out. But if they stash him on the practice squad, I could see if there's some injuries that happen or something goes down, him being elevated to the active roster at some point during this year. He should be fully recovered by, the start of the season / midway through the season. Alijah Huzzie is a name to watch because I really do think he would have been drafted if it wasn't for that injury he sustained in the pre-draft process. Next up, Junior Tafuna, defensive lineman from Utah, another big guy, but the recent signing of Foley Fudakasi is going to make it really tough for him to make this roster. Maybe another guy where he's on the practice squad and is able to get pulled up at some point during this season. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and go to my man, Eli Cox, offensive lineman. And he's another guy who he'll have a shot with this offensive line configuration with how it's going so far. I think everybody has an equal opportunity to make this roster, including my man right here, Mr. Eli Cox. Next up, let's look at another rookie that we got to look out for. And this was the guy who I said has the best chance to make this Texans 53-man roster out of all the undrafted free agents. It's long snapper Austin Brinkman. We all know John Weeks. He left the Texans this offseason. They didn't re-sign him. He ended up signing with the San Francisco 49ers, and this is going to be the first season for the Houston Texans since 2009 that John Weeks will not be the long snapper. So it's anybody's game. It could be Brinkman, who they brought in as an undrafted free agent. Now, Kyonte Hamilton, I told you at the beginning of the video, there was a little bit of controversy with his jersey where John Alexander tweeted out, I don't really see him on the field. And then either maybe, I don't know if there was a jersey mistake or what was out there, but he was wearing 58 on the practice or out there on the field today. The paper roster had it wrong. It had him at 94, and so did the tweet that the Texans sent out. They had him at 94. He was wearing 58 today. Why? Not sure. Maybe the 94 one was dirty. Maybe it wasn't ready to go. But either way, Kyonte Hamilton, another guy to look out for on the defensive line, 7th-round pick out of Rutgers. Let's go to Jaylen Reed, defensive back, and one of the guys who I thought was a steal from the draft. They got him in the 6th round out of Penn State, somebody who is not afraid to hit whatsoever, played in the Big Ten, and held his own. 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, this past year for the Nittany Lions. I think Jaylen Reed is somebody who, at least at the very base level, is going to bring you a good, special teams guy. Somebody, a special teams ace to come in and really lay the hammer on kickoffs and punts. Next up, let's look at quarterback Graham Mertz from Florida. A little bit of a surprise. A lot of Texans fans didn't think the Texans were going to spend a draft pick on a quarterback, being that they had C.J. Stroud, but Davis Mills on the last year of his deal. Maybe they're looking for a backup replacement, and they like what they saw out of Graham Mertz in the short stint that he had at Florida. He also played prior, I believe, at Wisconsin, but it was either Wisconsin or Nebraska. I can't think. Maybe being able to prove himself as that next guy up if Davis Mills ends up leaving in free agency. The other quarterback they had, and one of two non-rookies to be in attendance today, was Kedon Slovis, the quarterback who was on a practice squad last year, and just another guy, another camp body, another quarterback to have around, because they only had one guy. They didn't bring in an undrafted free agent. They have Kedon Slovis, and then they brought in Graham Mertz, who they drafted. So some guys to sling it around, and maybe a little battle for that quarterback 3 heading into the season, which I think the Texans only keep 2 quarterbacks and then one guy on the practice squad. So maybe it's a battle for the practice squad. Next up, let's go to another Jaylin Smith, defensive back from USC, and I have him this high on the list just because he was a 3rd-round pick. He was somebody who nobody expected the Texans to take that early, especially. There was connections there, obviously, was teammates with Kalen Bullock. I mean, hell, Kalen Bullock was at his draft party, but in the 3rd round, some high expectations. In my opinion, if you're a 3rd-round pick, I'm expecting you to make some sort of impact this season. We'll see if Jaylin can live up to that pedigree. Next up, let's go to Luke Lachey, tight end out of Iowa. Iowa's just a tight end factory. So hopefully, Nick Caley being a tight end guy, he can look at a guy in Luke Lachey and be like, hey, how can I use him in this offense? That tight end 3, tight end 4, I think, Dalton Schultz, we have Cade Stover, Brevin Jordan. I can see the Texans keeping 4 tight ends. So it's Luke Lachey, Irv Smith Jr., or, maybe they sign or trade for another guy. But Luke Lachey will definitely have a shot. I think was a pretty good value there in the 7th round for the Texans. Next up, running back Woody Marks out of USC, and he looked stout at practice. I know what you're about to see, 5'10" and 1/8, 207 pounds. Dude is built like a boulder. 198 carries, over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns on the ground last year for Woody Marks. More of a receiving back, though. So I'm interested to see how he works in, his footwork, route running out of the backfield, and just his hands overall, because I think the Texans got some really good pass catchers in this draft. I mentioned earlier that Kedon Slovis was one of 2 non-rookies to be in attendance. The other one, which in NBA terms, he technically would still be a rookie, maybe fan favorite at this point. I don't know, off-season fan favorite, LaDarius Henderson was in attendance, which that's really good to see, Guys who are unproven, guys who are second-year guys, I think should show up to Texans rookie minicamp. I think the more the merrier over there at camp, getting these guys ingratiated in Houston. I know some guys are working out, some guys are on vacation right now, but LaDarius Henderson's putting in that work and trying to prove himself every single day. And we see you, LaDarius. We all see you. Texans Twitter sees you. Dr. Barrett, all those guys, everybody who loves this team, they see the work you're putting in. And we see the work that other people aren't putting in, who haven't proven themselves. I'll just say that, LaDarius Henderson, we see what you got cooking up in H-Town. Now, before I get into my top 3 guys who you'll probably, from, seeing who I've talked about so far and who is left from the rookies, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. But if you're looking to get any of these rookie jerseys or a new Texans jersey this offseason, you got to head over to our friends over at Fanatics. They have all the jerseys you need over there, different colors, different sizes, different players, all Texans jerseys for you. They even have the H-Town alternates on the website as well. All you got to do, go to chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. That link will be in the comment section and description of today's video. Go check it out today, our friends over at Fanatics. Next up, and the top 3, I'm going to go with Aireontae Ersery, offensive tackle from Minnesota, one of the Texans' 2nd-round picks from this draft. And he's a big boy, big guy out there. I loved, he was talking to the media. There was a lot of guys who were, given some chit-chat with the media and stuff, and one thing that he said is he takes pride in protecting the quarterback and opening holes for the running back. Obviously, that's what you like to hear from your offensive lineman. D'Amico Ryans came out, a couple of weeks ago and said, we envision Aireontae Ersery first as a left tackle, but as a tackle prospect, either left tackle or right tackle, meaning I don't think it's likely that he moves on the interior. I think he'll battle for that left tackle with Cam Robinson, maybe battle for that right tackle with Titus Howard and Blake Fisher. Interesting to see what happens with Ersery and if he starts year one, week one, as a rookie. Let's go to the next guy, Jaylin Noel, wide receiver. Even though I didn't love the 82 number, loved what I saw out of him in terms of just like the vibes with him and Higgins. I loved seeing those two guys on the field. I loved seeing all the videos. And something that I loved from Nick Caserio is he really was gushing over this pick. He loved the pick of Jaylin Noel, like a lot of Texans fans did, like a lot of draft experts did, because I think it was the biggest steal in the entire draft was Noel in round 3. This is what Nick Caserio had to say. Jaylen's a really good football player. Inside receiver, plays outside of formations, is a punt returner, handles the ball. He's tough. We got some feedback from some teams, just unsolicited. Literally one of the best 30-man visits, this is after the draft, that they had. So literally one of the best visits that he's ever had with a prospect was with Jaylin Noel. And, it's one of those things where you see connections and how connections work. The Texans front office, the Texans coaching staff, Nick Caley, Nick Caserio, they have ties to the Iowa State coach, Matt Campbell. There's ties there. There's a good rapport between Iowa State head coaching staff and the Texans front office and their coaching staff. And you see it with the Texans double dipping with the Iowa State receivers in that they trust how they've been built up through that college football program in Iowa State with the Cyclones and the product that the Texans are getting from these guys who are coached up by Matt Campbell. And that's why the number one guy I'm going to be looking at is Jaylin Higgins throughout rookie minicamp. I mean, dude is massive. You can't miss him, right? Almost 6'5", the wingspan. Feels like he's like going to be a basketball player out there playing defense with that wingspan. This past year, 87 receptions, over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. And the thing that, really sticks out with Higgins is, 1, how he moves, and 2, just how sure-handed he is. I mean, he just doesn't drop balls. And for a guy his size, how fluid he moves, it's really something that you got to watch. I can't wait to see him on Sundays tear it up for your Houston Texans. And speaking of Jaden Higgins, be on the lookout because I have a new video coming out tomorrow on why Higgins is the key to this Texans offense and how it can unlock C.J. Stroud in year 3. You don't want to miss it. Go ahead and hit that sub button. And if you made it to the end of the video, drop those H's and get ready because I'm going to be putting that video out tomorrow.